So up next, we've got Abby. Welcome, Abby.
How many of you are still full-time in the NHS? Have you all left the NHS now? Oh, brilliant. That's even better. So for my journey, I actually started as a Band 1 cleaner back in 2009, 2010. And then slowly start to build up. And I'd never thought I'd ever even work in healthcare at all. So when I was a lot younger, I was all into hair, more Afro-Caribbean hair. And then from there, I ended up living in Tunisia. Okay, very, very different. And then my life was very, I was always partying. I was always out doing things that, probably shouldn't have been doing at that age, up until at the age of 18. And then at the age of 18, I started to settle down. I actually got married at the age of 20. And then when we got back to the UK, I went into, all my family have always worked as cleaners in the local hospital. So then I joined the bandwagon. Started there, then I went into healthcare support working role in an ITU setting, and then moved down to Cambridge 10 years ago from Birmingham and never looked back. From that point there, I went from a Band 4 in the NHS. I was a foundation driver for St John's Ambulance, and I was also an advanced first aider, so I used to go out to lots of other events, big venues, and be able to support there. And then I was a backup driver as well for a rapid response. Gave all that up, went back to a Band 2 in Patworth Hospital, and then started all over again. From that point there, I went from band to band every single year. And then in 2020, qualified as a nurse. But then the pandemic. I started my SSX journey, in 2017, where I did a lot of theory work. And like you, Gemma, I used to attend every webinar, get onto different things. But I needed to understand more anatomy, because we all know when we do our nursing careers, we don't actually really go into a specific anatomy. We have to do the whole bioscience of everything else, all the systems. So luckily enough, working at Patworth Hospital, I was able to learn a lot of facial anatomy, because of when they were inserting lines, it just depends on if it's central line, we were able to understand a bit more. So it already started to resonate with me with anatomy. So from that point there, I decided, okay, I'm going to do my aesthetics courses, went and did my first training course, and I come out like a rabbit in the headlights. I went in there, I was bombarded with all this information in the morning, and then by the afternoon, he was like, here's a needle. And I was like, okay, what do I do now? But because it didn't sit right with me with what I was doing at that point. So then I went on 3 other courses just to make sure that I'd got it in my head, and then I started to think, okay, I can do this now. So then I started my career in 2018, 2019, then we went into the lockdown. In that lockdown there is when I started to learn about having that change, what I wanted to develop, how did I want to move forward, because there was one night while I was in lockdown, I'd finished work, and in ITU, handovers normally at 7 o'clock. 8 o'clock still, no one had come to you by the time they'd all donned and doffed and then allocation and then come out to you. So I was like, do you know, I really don't want to do this anymore. I'm so tired. I'd worked 13 nights back to back. You wasn't allowed any time off. You wasn't allowed to do anything. And then I thought to myself, do you know what? I don't know how long I can keep doing this. But on this specific night, I remember 8 o'clock come and no one still came to me for a handover. And I was like, I'm so tired. I just wanted to cry. And then went to my car. It's now 9:45. Went to my car, and I always park my car on the first floor. Now I'm on the 8th floor. I can't find my car anywhere. I'm now panicking. Someone stole my car. What am I going to do? Found my ex-husband. And I was like, well, you just have to get a taxi and we'll find the police. Anyway, walks all the way back down to the ground floor to report my car stolen. It was there on the ground floor. And I just remember sitting in that car and crying my absolute eyes out, thinking, how long can I actually sustain this? It's too much. It's getting harder. So I thought, okay, I've always been in education within the NHS, so I thought I'm going to start having a look out to actually get my teaching qualification properly. From that point there, I did all the qualification. I started sharing more on Instagram and social media, because that's all we could do. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do this now. Now, Julie Horn was my inspiration at that point. I absolutely loved everything that she did. She was a nurse as well. And I thought, okay, I can do this. I think I'm strong enough to do this. So then in 2021, I decided to myself, I'm gonna take that leap. I'm gonna do this. I didn't know what I was gonna do, but I thought to myself, I'm gonna do this. And then that was actually my first time I think I spoke to Nissa. I was coming out of the NHS, I'd given up my role, but I was sitting there looking for another job. Does anybody else did that when they left the NHS? I was looking for another job. I'd got a perfectly good job, but I didn't want that job. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was going to go into devices. Then I thought, well, I went and had a conversation with someone else and they said to me, why do you want to go into devices? Why do you not go into education? Why do you not start supporting other people in what you can do while you're starting to develop your business? Because that's all I was sharing through the lockdown, how to start developing what you need in your clinic, how you're going to set that up. And I started having a lot of people come through to me and saying, like, oh, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? And I was like, yeah, that's absolutely no problem at all. So I started then setting up a bit of an education platform where I could share more information widely. And it started to really work. And I was like, okay, maybe I can actually do this. And like you guys, I started off with just your Botox and your fillers. Never thought I'd be in this position today, where I am now. And then it was like finding that balancing act. So I started to work shifts. I've reduced all my shifts down. I got down to 12 hours a week in my contract. And I was still like, you know what? But this was because I'd got this, didn't know which way I wanted to go, which direction I was going to go in. I was still looking for that other job, but I'd still got a perfectly good job. So I said to him, can I just keep it as a 12-hour contract? And they was like, yeah, that's absolutely fine, as long as you stick to it. And I was like, I will do that. However, I was looking for jobs. And then I don't know how it happened. I applied for this job and Fiona Maxill from Skin Viva contacted me and said, would you like to come for an interview? I was like, yeah, absolutely. I'll come into Manchester and I'll have the interview. And ended up working at Skin Viva. So I was a trainer there for just over a year. I came away from there because the travel from Cambridge to Manchester, it was a 4-hour journey on the train or 3.5 hours in the car. But it was taking me away from my clinic a lot then. So sometimes I'd be in Manchester for like 4 or 5 days a week, get back there, back to Cambridge, and then I'd have to like go for all my clients and stuff, start answering messages, because when you've been teaching all day, it just gets really, really, everything starts to build back up again. So then from there, I thought to myself, okay, what I'm doing at Skin Viva, why can I not just do it in my own clinic? I've got an accreditation, I've got a teaching certificate. Why am I not utilising this? Why am I going everywhere else, travelling around, educating other medics, when I can do it in Cambridge? And then I thought to myself, okay, this is where I need to be. So this is when I really, really sat down then, made that business plan and thought, I'm going to transition properly. And it was literally like trying to work out each client, what I needed to achieve, to make sure I'd got that additional funding still in my bank account. So I know that I'm not losing anything, because even though I was, and again, a bit personal now, I was married at that time, but my husband at that time, he didn't believe in anything that I did. It was always like, oh, it's never going to be successful. Women shouldn't be in business. Women should be in the kitchen. However, we got divorced in February. So for me, when he was all that drivers out telling me, you can't do this, you can't do that, you shouldn't be doing this, it made me even worse. My head was in the books, it was in my laptop. It was like, you can't do that, watch me. I'm going to show you how I can do it. And sometimes I think to myself, why am I like that? Well, then now I think to myself, yeah, I am glad that I was that person, because I've been able to do and build how I need it to be. Can I do this? Yes, you can. Everybody can do this. It's all about mindset. If you've got that mindset and you've got that vision of where you want to go and how you want to develop it, just keep going, keep pushing through. And again, imposter syndrome from Skin Viva, Harley Academy, I used to think to myself, do I really, really fit in here? I don't look like all these other people. I've got big fluffy hair. I've got these huge chubby cheeks. You know, I was thinking to myself, everyone's really like, you know, slender and everyone's hair's perfect and nice. And then there's me, like, you know, after about 2 hours of once I'm in clinic, or when I used to finish at the hospital, I'd come out and have a whole mane that's sitting around my head. And I was like, from that point, I was thinking to myself, do you know what? Actually, I am me. I am who I am, and I can't change that. So then I started to build on myself. Then I thought to myself, okay, I've got all this stuff under my belt. I've got my teaching certificate, I've left the NHS, I've got a good business. What am I going to do now? So that's when I thought to myself, I'm going to really set up my own academy. So I set up the academy. That started to grow, and it's worked really, really well. I've got lots of connections and networks within the business. But there was still that element of understanding business. I still didn't know 100% what I was doing. I'd wake up in the middle of the night thinking, did I write that down? like, did I do that? And I was like, I went back through my notes and I was like, yeah, I did that. Get back in bed. How many of you actually sleep really, really well at night? Because I find sleep sometimes can be, you know, it can be difficult, or before I know it, it's like 12 o'clock at night and I've got to be back up for 7 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to sustain this again? So from the do I did not fit in to having all this crazy work-life balance, because I went into this for the balance, I then went to NatWest and they did a business course there. And that helped me a lot, because there was lots of people there that were starting up their small businesses, didn't understand business, and that was the steps that I took. So I did that for 6 months, and it was really, really intense, but it made me understand what direction I needed to go in, how I needed to properly budget for this, how I needed to support that financial side from there. And again, Gemma, like you were saying, wearing multiple hats. I didn't know if I was coming or going some days. I was like, okay, so I need to do marketing. Then someone would message me, can I book an appointment? I'd start booking the appointments, and I'd forgot about those messages, and then I needed to come back to this. So I needed to create, do you understand where I'm coming from? Yeah. Yeah. Then it was social media. What on earth is that? Do you know what I mean? Like, social media is a full-time job on its own. So it's like trying to find that balance of how you're going to start to piece it all together. From there, I started to reach out to other marketing companies to see, you know, which was the best routes to go down. Because then at this point, this was like 2022 now, I think it was, where I started understanding more about the marketing side, what you can advertise, what you can't advertise. So again, I started to implement that with my students. And then it was like, okay, we've got all this stuff. We've got all these little bits of the business, but nothing still felt like it was gelling together. I just felt like I'd got a bit over there, a bit over there. And it was like, how am I going to make all this all become seamless? So then I got my Kate. Kate's like she's my PA person. Without her, sometimes I think to myself, how are we going to be able to really get on and develop and build more and more from there? Then I met Dee. She's another lady that I work with closely. And then we started to really focus on core values. So we've got another lady that came in that she was a freelance practitioner. And I said to her, like, what is it you want to do? How do you want to develop from your side of the business? Because she was freelance, but she still worked under my umbrella term. So we really, really honed in on safety, ethics, and natural results, because she was from Birmingham as well, but again, her target market was very different to mine. They were all into the pillow cheeks and the puffy lips, and I was like, no, we are not doing that in here. It's more about natural results. So when a lady comes in, they'll all say, I want my lips done, but I don't want the big lips. But then it's just trying to educate those patients when they come in that aesthetic treatment shouldn't be about change. It should be about keeping the natural balance and just restoring that volume from there. So again, then that's where I started building more confidence within my clients and saying to them, you've got to start from the inside out, okay? And again, with skin, we start from the outside and we work in when we come into injectables. And it started to work really well. So then we used to invite people in, like group sessions from my clients, and say to them, we're going to do an educational evening around dermal fillers. We're going to do it around skincare. We're going to do it around weight loss, because we've got other practitioners that are around the area that wanted to be able to come in and understand what it was that we actually did within clinic. And that started to work well then. And then my name started to gain a bit more out there from the Cambridge Aesthetics Lounge. Then people started to book in more and more. And I was like, oh, this is nice now, it's working. Everything started to come together once I sat down and was able to understand where I needed to be, what my role was in the business, and how I could actually freelance that out to others as well. So sharing your knowledge, I think from a training perspective, I think it's very important that my training courses are like, my dermal filler course is 2 days, because I spend a day of theory. If we're not in-house, we're doing it online, and then we do a day of injectables. So from there, it was like being able to give them the better side of the education, because my journey, like I said, my first day, I went in, I had lots of theory in the morning, I was handed a syringe by the afternoon, and I thought to myself, this is far too much. Far too much information to take in. You got all the anatomy to think about as well. And as nurses, you can't think about, right, this is this, that is that. And then we have to like put it in stages so it all starts to come back round and then have a decent understanding with your client, and then delivering the natural results as well. So that's what I always try and embed into my clients as well, just making sure that you have an understanding. The injectable side is the easy side. The anatomy and the education behind it is where you really need to start to develop more. Again, we come back to confidence, ethics, and hands-on skills and mastery. So for me, being able to work alongside Tim Pearce was great. He taught me so much more as well within business. He told me I'd got pricing Tourette's, because whenever someone come in and was like, can I have a discount? I'd be like, oh, yeah, you can have 5% off, 10% off that. I did it all the time. And then Kate started to say to me, how is it that this is this price, but you're only taking this much? And I was like, oh, she asked me for a discount. And she said to me, so if I went to Asda now, did my shopping, and I got to the till, am I going to say to them, can I have some discount off that, please? Because I'm pretty sure she's going to say no to me at the till. And I was like, oh my God, I never actually thought of it like that. It's just always me being kind. But I'd left the NHS now. I was on this side of the line. It was more autonomy. I needed to be stronger. I needed to say to my clients, no. I was always very good at saying no, but when it comes to the pricing, I was like, oh yeah, you can have a bit more off than that. Oh, I'll tell you what, I'll do that and I'll do this for free. And we've all done that, okay? There is not many practitioners that I've spoken to and they've said that they've not done that. And again, it's just being able to hone in and have that understanding. And I was glad that you went before me, Gemma, because it just made me feel a lot better that my journey was very similar and that I did these things too. So what I learned from my journey, education is everything. Keep learning, keep going. Even when there's new trends come out, I hate trends, I must say, I do hate trends. But it's always good to have some knowledge around what it is that's trending. We went through the whole, in the last couple of years, we had Russian lips, lemon bottle, strip lips. what are they? The smash lift. You know, these are things that you think to yourself, where are these coming from? But when you actually go into the education and try and find out, it's probably somebody in Brazil that's actually thought of this crazy idea, and it's eventually filtered into the UK. But in the UK, I think we are very quick to jump on things without an understanding. One of my ladies that works for me, she said to me, oh, we need to start doing lemon bottle. And I said, okay, bring me all the information. I love science. Bring me all the information around this lemon bottle. I said, and then if you want to do the course, that's entirely up to you, but you won't be offering it in my clinic. And she was like, oh, why not? And I said, okay, so right now, I think at that point, I said, the Swiss version of the MRHA had banned it, completely banned it. I said, so if they've banned it, how quick is it going to be before our MRHA start to ask questions? And then it started to die off. And I said, so what is it from the lemon bottle that you wanted to do? Tell me more about it. Tell me what each one of those vitamins, those extracts, how are they going to be able to break down fat and it's going to be maintained without a combination of treatments? No answer. And again, that's why I say it's quick to jump on a trend, but understand the education behind it. Confidence comes with experience. It does come with experience. Again, I think about the 13-year-old me, moving away, living in Tunisia, living the dream, absolute rocking it on the beach every night, you know, loving life. But I never thought to myself, even till today, that I would be owning 3 businesses, that I would be standing here talking to you guys. I wouldn't be going around to other places in the UK teaching other medics, because back then it was never something that I ever thought I was going to do. I left the NHS with an unknown plan, but I knew I was going to do something. And it was just having that confidence to build on it. And then now through experience, I've been able to educate others, share my learning, share my understanding. We created the Cambridge Aesthetics Group, which is almost ready to launch properly now. It's a bit like a networking group where people can come in. So there's lots of little bits in there where you've got all of your training programs for treatments that you do, but then the ultimate side of it is the business building. So I have a 12-week mentorship program that I get lots of medics asking me questions about, and then they do join. Because when you come out the NHS, we don't know about business. I was lucky enough that my family are very business orientated. They try to have input, but sometimes I can be very stubborn and be like, I need to do this myself to learn and understand, but when I do need you and I've exhausted all avenues, would you mind if I come and ask you then? Because that was the only way I felt like I was going to learn, because it was always like, no, you need to do this. Why do I need to do that? Because that's going to work. No one could tell me why it was going to work. So I needed to find out. And again, I'm very much like that. I like to understand each step of it. I like to exhaust every avenue of it, to be able to then understand where I need to be and how I'm going to do it, because what you might do might not be what you do. It might not be what you understand or how you understand your businesses. Resilience is key. Resilience is definitely key. Setting them boundaries in place and knowing what you want and being able to achieve those is a great feeling once you've hit that milestone. Saying no to clients is also a tough one. But again, building that resilience to be able to do that. You can design your dream career. Yes, you absolutely can. I would advocate that non-stop. If you want something, you can go out there and get it. Some people say like, oh, there's too many aesthetics clinics around there now, but they're not. You've got your own niche. So what I'd like to say to you is my mission today is to help medics transition with clarity and support, give them the mentorship and training program, lead with integrity. So sometimes people say to me, oh, you're quite pushy. It's not that I'm pushy in a horrible way. I'm a very kind, pushy person, because when I was younger, they said to me, you've got ADHD, you've got dyslexia. So for me, it was like, if I can do it, then why can't you do it? You're more than capable. You're more than able to do it. Just take your time with it. You don't need to rush with it. Your path is possible. So again, you are able to do as much as you can with your own ability, the right mindset, and being able to build. Invest in yourself, and your future clients will always be waiting out there. So the last thing that I want to leave you with is just to say, keep going. Don't give up. If you have any seed of doubt, just keep pushing through, because once you get to that other side, you're going to feel so much more better. And again, like myself and Gemma and the other lady that was just doing the speaking earlier on, when we look back to where you were before to today, you're going to think to yourself, oh my God, I actually really did achieve all that. I don't sleep that much at night because there's always something else that I'm thinking of or what I want to do. But yeah, keep going, and I wish you all best of luck. All right.